The camera zooms in on the debate stage. Tucker Carlson sits confidently at his desk, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the surface, his eyes locked in on the audience as if he already knows he has won. The lights are hot, the air thick with anticipation. Tucker clears his throat, ready for his punch. He leans forward, exuding the aura of someone who has the upper hand. His voice is calm, measured, deliberate. He begins his argument, legal, calculated, and seemingly indisputable. "Let me make this perfectly clear," he says, locking eyes with the moderator. "The law is not some abstract concept. It's about precedent. It's about logic. The government cannot simply override constitutional rights because of political whims. The legal system is here to protect us from overreach, and let's be honest, folks, we're seeing it right now." He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. His smirk, subtle but palpable, suggests that he believes his point is airtight. He's ready to sit back, cross his arms, and let the applause roll in. But Kamala Harris is watching him closely. She doesn't flinch. She's calm, composed, calm enough to see the cracks in Carlson's argument before he even finishes. Without missing a beat, Harris interrupts, her voice cutting through the tension like a sharp blade. "Actually, Tucker, that's not how the law works. You're forgetting one thing," she says, her tone unyielding but measured. The crowd shifts uncomfortably in their seats. The moderator's eyes flick to Harris, then back to Carlson, sensing the impending clash. Harris leans in slightly, her gaze steady, unwavering. The Constitution is not about upholding a rigid interpretation of law that suits your agenda. It's about progress. It's about justice. And what you're failing to acknowledge is that precedent isn't just a tool for the status quo, it's a guide for us to evolve. She holds up her hand for emphasis. "You're misinterpreting it." Carlson's eyes narrow, the smirk faltering just a fraction. Harris's words hang in the air, the weight of them undeniable. The audience feels the shift, the tension, the sudden uncertainty in Carlson's expression. The shock is palpable. What he thought was a simple slam dunk is suddenly slipping away. "Go on," Tucker challenges, trying to regain control, but his voice betrays him, barely a hint of panic creeping through. The intellectual duel is set. The stakes are clear. And what happens next could change everything. The room is heavy with silence. The stakes have been raised. Tucker Carlson, who once seemed unshakable, now faces a challenge, a legal point so sharp, it has the power to unravel everything he's built his argument upon. Kamala Harris's words echo in the minds of everyone watching, but this isn't just about one debate. This moment, this confrontation, has the potential to ripple across the political landscape for years to come. As Harris continues, her voice steady, the gravity of the situation becomes apparent. She's not just defending a point of law, she's defending the very principles that have guided American democracy through its most turbulent moments. The Constitution, she argues, was never meant to be a static relic. It was a living document, a framework for a nation in constant evolution. This is a defining moment for the future of American jurisprudence, and the whole country can feel it. But it's more than just a battle over legal precedents. The implications reach far beyond the courtroom, beyond the policies that are debated on the Senate floor. This is about justice itself, what it means to be an American, what it means to be free, to be equal, to have a voice in a system that's supposed to serve you. Tucker Carlson, with his rigid views, represents a path backward, one that seeks to freeze America in time, to hold the nation in place. His vision is one where power stays in the hands of the few, where the rights of citizens are subjected to the whims of those who cling to outdated notions of original intent. His legal arguments are a smokescreen, a way to justify policies that benefit the privileged and silence those who need the system to work for them the most. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, stands for progress, a vision of America that moves forward. Her argument isn't just about the law. It's about fairness. It's about ensuring that every American, regardless of race, gender, or background, has an equal chance to thrive in a society that claims to be a land of opportunity. Her defense of the Constitution is a defense of the very heart of the American experiment. And she knows, the people watching know, that this is bigger than just a debate. This is about the future of the country. What's at stake isn't just who wins this argument, it's the direction the country will take. Will it move forward into a more inclusive, just future? Or will it stay trapped in a past that benefits only a select few? Harris's words suggest that this debate is the battleground for those competing visions. The stakes are real. Every decision made today will reverberate across generations. If the law is manipulated to protect entrenched interests, it will set a dangerous precedent, one where the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice are eroded bit by bit. But if Harris wins, if she successfully defends the Constitution's living nature, it will pave the way for a future that includes every voice, every identity, every individual who has been historically marginalized. This isn't just about legalese or intellectual exercises. This debate is about power, the power to shape the future of a nation. It's about whether America will continue its march toward justice or whether it will stumble backward into old habits, leaving behind those who have been fighting for their rights for decades. And what happens in this room, under the intense spotlight, could influence the policies that govern this country for years to come. Judges, lawmakers, activists, everyone is watching. Everyone has a stake in this moment. This debate could reshape future rulings, reframe political strategies, and ultimately alter the fabric of American society. As the camera zooms out, the atmosphere crackles with tension. Harris has not only challenged Carlson's point, she's ignited a firestorm. What she said is now the focal point of every discussion in the country. This debate is no longer just an intellectual exercise, it's a battle for the very soul of America. The question now isn't just who will win this argument. It's what kind of America will emerge when the dust settles. And the world is watching. Tucker Carlson sits tall at his desk, his gaze focused, the embodiment of confidence. But beneath that calm exterior, there's a calculated arrogance, a sense of superiority that comes from years of building an empire on controversy. He's not just a commentator, he's a brand. A brand built on speaking in absolutes, distorting facts, and pitting people against each other for the sake of ratings. For Carlson, the truth is malleable. It's not a matter of uncovering what's real or just. It's about bending the narrative to fit his worldview, a worldview where power remains in the hands of the privileged, where the underdogs are left to fend for themselves. In his eyes, the system works, but only for those who've already earned it. And anyone who suggests that the system might be flawed, they're either misguided or, in his words, un-American. Carlson's rise to prominence wasn't built on his deep understanding of law, history, or morality. No, it was built on a simple formula: controversy. He quickly learned that the more outlandish his takes, the more people would tune in. But it wasn't just shock value that made him so influential, it was his ability to weave a narrative that made his followers feel like they were part of an exclusive club. A club where anyone who questioned the status quo was an enemy of the people. This ability to manipulate public sentiment with half-truths and misleading arguments made him a polarizing figure. It also made him the perfect antagonist in this debate. While others might focus on facts, Carlson would twist them, pick them apart, and spin them into a narrative that served his own interests. Facts, for him, were tools, not truths. His controversial takes on social issues are legendary. From claiming that immigration is destroying the fabric of America, to suggesting that climate change is a hoax designed to control the masses, Carlson's rhetoric has often veered into dangerous territory. But perhaps his most egregious legal misstep came when he attempted to undermine the rights of marginalized communities in the name of preserving traditional values. His arguments were always steeped in legalese, drawing on distorted interpretations of the Constitution, but they never held up under scrutiny. He's had his fair share of legal run-ins as well, legal theories that he's pushed on air, only to see them fall apart in the courts. He once declared that laws protecting the rights of LGBTQ+ individuals were an overreach, claiming that they violated religious freedoms. His statement sparked protests, lawsuits, and widespread backlash. But in his mind, the controversy only added to his power. He was used to being the lightning rod, the provocateur, the man who could get people talking, no matter the cost. It's no surprise that he has framed this debate as a contest of freedom versus government overreach. His entire career has been about fighting what he perceives as a liberal agenda that seeks to dismantle the very core of American ideals. But the irony is thick. In his fight for freedom, Carlson has often pushed an agenda that restricts the freedoms of others, particularly those whose rights he deems unnecessary or undeserved. Take, for example, his recent attacks on voting rights laws. He's been vocal about his belief that widespread voter fraud exists, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. His refusal to acknowledge the truth has led many to question whether he's more interested in perpetuating a false narrative to fuel his audience's anger, rather than actually engaging in good faith legal analysis. In fact, many legal experts have torn apart his arguments, showing that his claims are not only baseless but dangerous. But that hasn't stopped him from continuing to amplify these falsehoods. For Carlson, it's not about having an honest discussion. It's about winning. It's about making his audience believe that they are fighting a war against an elite, corrupt establishment, even if the battles are based on lies. His arrogance is his armor, and it's been his greatest asset. He's built an army of followers who hang on every word, every controversial statement. They believe in his narrative, even as the legal and factual errors pile up. But now, in this debate with Kamala Harris, Carlson faces a formidable adversary. Harris isn't just a politician, she's a seasoned legal expert. Her intellect is her weapon, and she has no time for the manipulative tactics Carlson has perfected over the years. As much as he tries to paint her as just another politician, she knows the law, and she knows it better than he does. And that's exactly what Carlson fears. It's no secret that Carlson has a tendency to vilify those who challenge him. He's quick to label them radicals or unpatriotic, dismissing their arguments without a second thought. But Harris isn't just anyone. She's not easily intimidated. And her ability to dissect his argument with precision is exactly what makes her such a threat. But Carlson doesn't back down. His arrogance fuels his confidence, and he refuses to believe that anyone, especially a woman of color, could best him in this arena. In his mind, this is his moment, his chance to prove once again that he's the one who holds the power, the one who defines what is true in America. Yet, the clock is ticking. His ability to manipulate the narrative is being tested. Kamala Harris isn't backing down, and the audience knows that the only way for this showdown to end is with one of them victorious, and the other exposed for what they truly are. Kamala Harris stands at the center of the stage, unwavering in her resolve. Her career has been defined by a relentless pursuit of justice, an unflinching commitment to the truth, and an unshakable belief in the American ideals of equality and opportunity. From the very beginning, Harris understood that power wasn't something given, it was something earned, something fought for, and something that had to be protected. Her journey to this moment, this showdown with Tucker Carlson, has been years in the making. Born to immigrant parents, her mother from India and her father from Jamaica, Kamala was raised in a household where the values of hard work, fairness, and fighting for what is right were non-negotiable. Her mother, a breast cancer researcher, and her father, an economist, instilled in her the understanding that the fight for justice was as much about intellectual rigor as it was about compassion. These values would guide her throughout her life, whether she was in a courtroom, a political debate, or on the Senate floor. Kamala's path to becoming a lawyer wasn't one of privilege, it was one of perseverance. She faced the same systemic barriers that many others in her position faced, but her determination never wavered. She knew that if she wanted to make a real difference, she had to be more than just a good lawyer, she had to be a champion for the marginalized, the oppressed, the unheard. She entered law school at the University of California, Hastings College of the Law, with a singular focus, to fight for justice. It wasn't about fame or wealth, it was about using the law as a tool to dismantle the systems that allowed injustice to persist. As a young attorney, Kamala worked in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, where she quickly gained a reputation for her unyielding commitment to fairness. Her early work was marked by a fierce desire to protect the most vulnerable members of society, women, children, people of color, often standing up against the very institutions that were supposed to protect them. Her breakthrough came when she was appointed as the District Attorney of San Francisco in 2004, the first woman and the first woman of color to hold the position. As DA, Kamala immediately set to work reforming the system from within. She focused on criminal justice reform, advocating for programs that diverted nonviolent offenders away from the prison system and into rehabilitation. Her efforts weren't just about punishing crime, they were about addressing the root causes of it: poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity. Kamala's work as DA was defined by her ability to balance tough, pragmatic justice with a deep empathy for those affected by the criminal justice system. She wasn't afraid to take on cases that others might have shied away from. Her leadership on the issue of truancy in California's schools, where she pushed for policies that targeted systemic inequalities, was one of the earliest signs of her ability to navigate difficult legal terrain while keeping her focus on justice. Her reputation only grew as she became California's Attorney General in 2011. As AG, Kamala took on some of the most powerful players in the state. Her office filed a landmark lawsuit against the for-profit prison industry for its role in mass incarceration, shining a light on the way the system exploited the poor, particularly communities of color. Her legal victories were many, but they weren't just about winning cases, they were about pushing forward a vision of a more just, equitable society. In 2016, Kamala Harris made history once again, becoming California's first female U.S. Senator. Her victory wasn't just a personal achievement, it was a testament to her ability to break barriers and challenge the status quo. As Senator, Kamala became a vocal advocate for issues that aligned with her long-standing commitment to justice, from healthcare reform to criminal justice overhaul to climate change action. Her rise in politics was marked by a fierce independence, an unwavering moral compass, and an ability to bring together coalitions of progressives, moderates, and independents alike. It was on the Senate floor that Kamala truly began to make her mark as a force to be reckoned with in Washington. Her questioning during Senate hearings was a thing of legend. Whether she was grilling then-Attorney General Jeff Sessions about his ties to Russia or challenging Brett Kavanaugh during his Supreme Court confirmation hearings, Kamala's sharp legal mind and steely determination were on full display. She wasn't afraid to hold the powerful accountable, and she did so with the kind of poise and precision that left her opponents scrambling. Her legal victories weren't confined to the courtroom. Kamala had a unique ability to translate legal arguments into the language of the people, making complex legal battles accessible and understandable to everyday Americans. She wasn't just fighting in the halls of power, she was fighting for the people. Her reputation as a champion for the voiceless was solidified during her time as a senator, where she repeatedly pushed for policies that would benefit the most vulnerable in society, from healthcare reform to criminal justice reform to comprehensive immigration reform. Her political career has always been one of steady ascension, but it's been her legal acumen that has truly set her apart. Kamala understands the law better than most, and she knows how to wield it like a weapon. This is why she's so uniquely equipped to take on Tucker Carlson. In a debate rooted in legal principles, where arguments will be dissected and analyzed with ruthless precision, Kamala's legal expertise gives her the upper hand. She's seen it all before: the manipulation of facts, the twisting of legal precedent, the attempts to frame the law as a tool for maintaining the status quo. And she knows how to dismantle it. Carlson may have come prepared with his own narrative, but Kamala Harris is prepared to expose it for what it is: an attempt to distort the truth. This isn't just about winning a debate, it's about protecting the integrity of the legal system and defending the values that have always made America a beacon of hope for those seeking justice and equality. As the debate unfolds, Kamala's experience, her understanding of the law, and her unflinching commitment to truth will be her greatest weapons. She knows that the stakes of this debate aren't just about one moment in time, they're about the future of justice, fairness, and equality in America. And she's ready to fight for it, just as she has her entire career. The atmosphere in the room thickens. The intensity of the exchange is palpable. Tucker Carlson, emboldened by his earlier statement, shifts in his seat, leaning forward with a smug grin. He can sense the growing discomfort in the air, the unease of a room that has started to feel the undercurrents of a battle that is about to hit a boiling point. He's not finished. He won't back down. This is his moment to reassert control. Kamala, Carlson says, his voice dipping with condescension, you're painting this picture like the law is some fluid, ever-changing entity. But the truth is simple. The Constitution was written in a time of very clear, unambiguous principles. We cannot just rewrite it every time a politician thinks it's convenient. His tone is sharper now. He's raising the stakes, pushing his argument forward with greater intensity, his eyes never leaving Harris. He's trying to provoke her into a misstep. He's trying to make her react, to break her composure. But Harris remains unshaken. She sits tall, calm, and focused, as if she's been here before. And she has. This is a battle of intellect, and she's prepared for it. I never said the Constitution should be rewritten, Tucker, she responds, her voice steady, her words cutting through the tension like a scalpel. What I'm saying is that it's a living document. A document that evolves, that adapts to the needs of the people. What you're proposing is a static interpretation, one that ignores the voices of millions who've been left behind by that unambiguous framework. Carlson scoffs, a sneer forming at the corners of his lips. That's the problem with progressives like you, Kamala. You want to bend the law to fit your agenda. What happened to the rule of law? What happened to respect for the foundation of our country? He speaks over her, cutting her off mid-sentence, but she remains composed. The crowd feels the tension rise as Carlson attempts to dominate the conversation with sheer volume, as if his forceful rhetoric can overpower reason itself. But Kamala doesn't flinch. She waits, her calm demeanor never wavering. When Carlson finishes his tirade, she speaks again, slower this time, but with increasing precision. The rule of law, Harris says, is not about clinging to outdated ideas just because they're convenient. It's about ensuring justice for all. The Constitution was written with the understanding that the world changes. Society changes. And the law must reflect that change. If it doesn't, then it ceases to be a tool for justice. It becomes a tool for oppression. She pauses, allowing the weight of her words to settle. The room grows quieter. Carlson glares, but he can feel the shift in the audience's energy. His earlier confidence starts to erode, replaced by a creeping sense of doubt. He tries to salvage the situation by launching into another attack. You're using vague, feel-good language, Kamala, Carlson retorts. You want to talk about change? Let's talk about facts. The facts are that the Constitution was never meant to be subject to the whims of politicians who think they know better. You want to reinterpret it because it doesn't fit your narrative. And that's dangerous. It's a slippery slope that leads to chaos. Harris isn't rattled by his attempt to shift the conversation. Instead, she leans in slightly, her voice still calm but unwavering, and delivers her counterattack with surgical precision. No, Tucker, she replies, her eyes locking with his, what's dangerous is ignoring the very principles that the Constitution stands for. Equality. Justice. Protection of the vulnerable. When the law stops evolving to protect those ideals, it stops serving the people. And that's where we're headed, if we continue to let men like you define what the law is supposed to be, rather than what it actually is. Carlson stares at her, his face reddening slightly, his mouth opening and closing as if he's searching for the right words, but none come. The crowd is watching, hanging on every syllable, every word. The tension is electric, crackling in the air. Carlson tries to recover, his voice rising in volume. You can't just change the law to fit your own political agenda. The Constitution is meant to be a guardrail, not a tool to push your progressive agenda forward. Harris doesn't let him finish. The Constitution was never a tool for anyone's agenda, she says, her voice still level but firm, but for the people. For justice. You're misunderstanding what's at stake here, Tucker. This isn't about political power. It's about the heart of democracy. The audience shifts in their seats, the weight of Harris's words sinking in. Carlson's attack has lost its sting. Harris's logic is airtight, her conviction unbreakable. Every time he tries to twist her words, she counters with facts and principles that he cannot easily dismiss. His smirk falters, his earlier arrogance replaced by a creeping realization, he is not in control here. Kamala Harris has already won this round, and the fight is far from over. The moderator, sensing the intensity of the exchange, steps in, but the audience is already buzzing, the tension palpable. The stage has been set for what's to come. The next move could make or break this debate. As the moment hangs in the air, one thing is clear, this is no longer just about legal precedent. It's about a battle for the soul of America. And Harris, with her calm strength, has only just begun. The room is heavy with anticipation, the air crackling with tension as Tucker Carlson paces, his face flushed with frustration. Kamala Harris sits perfectly still, her eyes steady and unyielding, every inch of her presence radiating confidence. Carlson is struggling to regain control, to reassert his narrative, but the crowd has already begun to sense the shift. Harris hasn't broken. She hasn't wavered. And now, it's her turn. Carlson opens his mouth again, trying to regain his footing, but Kamala raises a hand, a small, deliberate gesture that silences the room. The audacity in her gesture, calm and composed, yet assertive, sends a clear message, this is her moment. She is in command. Tucker, she begins, her voice unwavering but with a note of finality. You've been talking a lot about the Constitution, about originalism, and about how the law should be interpreted. But there's one critical thing you've overlooked. She pauses for effect, locking eyes with him. The Constitution isn't just about following what's written in ink on a page, it's about protecting the people. The founders wrote it with the understanding that America would evolve, that its values would evolve. And what you're missing, Tucker, is that evolution is at the very heart of what makes this country great. There's no smug smile on her face, no show of forceful gestures, just pure, razor-sharp clarity. She isn't playing to the audience's emotions, she's playing to their intellect, to their need for truth. Carlson opens his mouth, but Harris cuts him off before he can interject. She's not done. Let me make something clear, she continues, her words deliberate, her tone calm but biting. When we talk about legal precedents, we're not talking about a set of rules that stay frozen in time. You keep invoking originalism, Tucker, but what you're failing to understand is that this interpretation of the Constitution isn't the only one, and it certainly isn't the only one that guarantees the freedoms we hold dear. You've misinterpreted the law, and it's time someone called you out on it. The audience leans in, sensing that something monumental is coming. Harris pauses, briefly gathering her thoughts, before delivering the blow that will echo across the room. The Constitution is a living document, she says, her voice rising slightly, but still composed. And in Brown v. Board of Education, the Supreme Court made it clear that the Constitution was never meant to enshrine segregation. It was never meant to lock America into the racist status quo. That landmark decision wasn't about simply reading the text, it was about reading the values, the ideals behind it. Harris's words land with a weight that makes the room feel smaller, tighter. Carlson shifts uncomfortably, but Harris is just getting started. In Brown, the court said that the law must adapt to reflect the changing needs of society. It must reflect the evolving understanding of what is just. And that understanding has always been rooted in one principle, equality. So when you stand here, Tucker, and suggest that we should freeze the Constitution in time, you're ignoring the very ruling that formed the basis of our modern civil rights movement. Carlson's eyes flicker, just for a moment, the slightest trace of doubt passing over his face. Harris senses it and presses on, knowing this is the critical moment. Let me go further, she continues, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. Let's talk about Obergefell versus Hodges, a more recent decision. The Supreme Court, in that case, ruled that same-sex marriage is a fundamental right under the Constitution. Again, the ruling was about more than the text, it was about the principles of liberty and equality. And yet, you've ignored this, just as you've ignored Brown and every other precedent that proves the Constitution is not static, it is living, breathing, evolving. Carlson, who had been prepared to fight tooth and nail, now sits back, his mouth open but with no words to form. He looks at Harris, visibly shaken, as the full force of her argument settles in. The room is quiet, expectant, as if everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the final blow. Harris leans forward, closing the distance between them with a single sentence, each word deliberate. The law, Tucker, is a tool for justice, not for maintaining the status quo. And every time you try to weaponize it to defend the old, you weaken the very foundation of freedom you claim to protect. The Constitution is about the people. It's about the progress we've made, and the progress we will continue to make. There's a stunned silence. No one moves. Carlson looks as if he's been struck by a thunderbolt. His confident, almost cocky demeanor from earlier is gone, replaced by something far less certain. He tries to recover, but Harris's words have already dismantled the core of his argument. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. For a moment, it feels as if time has frozen. Harris's words aren't just a legal rebuttal, they are a declaration of everything she's fought for, everything she believes in. The crowd, which had been split in its loyalties just moments before, is now silent, each person processing what they've just witnessed. Carlson stammers, but it's too late. The battle has been won, not by volume or force, but by intellect, by truth, and by an unwavering commitment to justice. Harris doesn't wait for him to recover. She takes a breath and calmly sits back, her posture exuding calm strength. She's delivered her point, there is nothing more to say. The room feels smaller now, the weight of the exchange hanging in the air, as the realization settles in. Kamala Harris has just dismantled Tucker Carlson's argument with an unassailable blend of facts, precedent, and conviction. As the audience finally exhales, the applause starts, slow at first, hesitant. But it builds, growing in intensity, as they recognize the truth of what's just happened. Tucker Carlson, the man who built his career on dominating debates, has been outclassed, his arrogance unraveling in the face of Kamala Harris's intellect. And as the applause rises, one thing is clear, this moment will be remembered. Kamala Harris has not just won the debate, she has defined the future of legal discourse in America. The debate is over. The lights dim on the stage, and the audience begins to shuffle out, but the room's energy lingers, charged with the aftermath of what they've just witnessed. Tucker Carlson, once a towering figure in media, sits in silence, the weight of Kamala Harris's unassailable legal rebuttal still hanging over him. The applause, which had erupted in support of Harris, still echoes in the minds of everyone who saw the debate. But the true shockwaves begin as the debate spills into the digital world. Within minutes, social media platforms explode, the world's virtual space consumed by the ramifications of Harris's victory. The hashtags begin to trend, hashtag Harris wins, hashtag legal truth, hashtag Tucker defeated, each one a testament to the seismic shift that has just taken place. The sheer volume of tweets, posts, and videos flooding the internet makes it clear, this debate has gone viral. In the hours following the debate, Twitter becomes an arena of intellectual sparring. Millions of people share clips of Harris's final counterpoint, dissecting her argument, applauding her calm delivery, and marveling at the precision of her legal expertise. The soundbite of her mentioning Brown versus Board of Education and Obergefell versus Hodges spreads like wildfire. The words she spoke are everywhere, across Twitter feeds, Facebook statuses, TikTok videos, even in memes. A viral video shows an animated version of Harris calmly delivering her mic drop line, "The law is a tool for justice, not for maintaining the status quo." The clip has over 1 million views within hours, with users commenting, "She just destroyed him, Kamala knows the law," and "Tucker is done." The video is shared by influencers, political commentators, and everyday users alike. The hashtags grow, hashtag Harris for the win, hashtag legal champion, hashtag truth prevails. By the time the evening news rolls around, the debate has become the hottest topic in the country. Cable news networks dedicate entire segments to the aftermath. CNN runs a banner headline, "Kamala Harris defeats Tucker Carlson in historic debate, legal precedent set in stone." Fox News, where Carlson once reigned supreme, is forced to address the fallout with a sense of unease. The usual bravado that had filled the airwaves during his tenure is now replaced by nervous analysis, as commentators try to spin the loss, but even they can't ignore the facts. Harris's legal expertise was undeniable. A viral tweet from legal scholar Anita Johnson reads, "Kamala Harris didn't just argue, she redefined constitutional interpretation." Watch this debate again if you haven't already. It's history in the making. Johnson's tweet, along with others from well-respected figures in law, quickly amassed thousands of likes and retweets. The momentum grows, turning Harris's argument into a rallying cry for legal reformers and progressives. On Instagram, a post featuring a clip of Harris from the debate has gone viral, racking up millions of views. Influencers and activists comment, "This is what we need in leadership, someone who actually understands the law." A flurry of new posts flood the platform, showing people of all ages watching the debate with awe, applauding Harris's ability to outwit one of the most powerful voices in conservative media. One popular meme circulating reads, "When you take down Tucker Carlson with just facts and precedent." The meme has millions of shares. The media reacts in real time. News outlets that once criticized Harris are now forced to recalibrate their tone. Articles emerge, calling her performance masterful, unassailable, and a lesson in how to challenge disinformation. The legal world, too, is abuzz. Legal experts praise her ability to weave together complex precedents with clarity and confidence, with one saying, "She's a legal scholar in the public sphere, and it's clear she's going to be a force in shaping how we think about constitutional law in the future." Meanwhile, Carlson's credibility begins to disintegrate. On Twitter, the backlash against him grows as people point out how he misrepresented the facts. Legal analysts break down his argument in detail, showing how his interpretation of the Constitution was not only flawed but dangerously misleading. His own followers begin to question his authority, with some distancing themselves from him. A tweet from political commentator, Jorge Silva, goes viral, "If Tucker Carlson can't get basic constitutional law right, why is he giving legal advice to millions of viewers?" Within hours, the online mockery begins. Memes depicting Carlson as a cartoonish figure with exaggerated expressions, frozen in shock or scrambling for words, are posted everywhere. The hashtag Tucker defeated becomes a trending topic, drawing ridicule from both sides of the aisle. The debate's aftermath isn't just about Harris's victory, it's about Carlson's glaring misstep, which has left him open to mockery. Even some of Carlson's most loyal supporters begin to lose confidence in him. In an unexpected twist, right-wing pundit Ben Shapiro tweets, "I respect Tucker, but I've got to say, Kamala took him to school." The tweet is shared thousands of times, adding fuel to the fire. Shapiro's words add to the growing feeling that Carlson, once an intellectual force, has been exposed for his lack of depth and understanding of the very legal principles he spent years arguing against. In the celebrity world, the reactions are just as loud. Celebrities like Mark Ruffalo and Ava DuVernay tweet their support for Harris, calling her a champion of justice. "Kamala just showed what true leadership looks like," Ruffalo writes. DuVernay adds, "She didn't just win a debate, she made history." The sense of collective pride among progressives grows as the world watches this intellectual showdown unfold. By the end of the week, the damage to Carlson's reputation is evident. His show sees a dramatic dip in ratings as viewers begin to question the credibility of the man who had long prided himself on being a voice of truth. Meanwhile, Harris's profile soars. She becomes not just a politician but a symbol of integrity and intellectual rigor, a beacon of hope for those who believe in justice and the power of the law. But the true scope of the fallout is just beginning. As more and more people watch the debate in its entirety, Harris's victory becomes a defining moment in American political discourse. This debate, this one moment, has shifted the narrative, and Kamala Harris is now positioned as the leading voice in a legal and ideological battle that could shape the country for years to come. The fallout continues to reverberate. What was once a simple debate has become a landmark moment in the ongoing struggle for truth, justice, and the future of America. Kamala Harris has not just taken down a powerful figure, she's left a legacy, one that will resonate for generations to come. And for Tucker Carlson, the consequences of that night will be felt long after the applause has faded. The applause from the debate hall has long since faded, but the echoes of the clash between Kamala Harris and Tucker Carlson continue to reverberate across the country. What began as a heated legal confrontation has become something far more significant. The impact of the debate extends beyond just the exchange of words. It has sparked a renewed conversation about the values that hold this country together: truth, justice, and intellectual integrity. Kamala Harris knows that this moment isn't just about winning a debate. It's about reminding the American people that the pursuit of truth, grounded in the law and shaped by justice, is a cause worth fighting for. She has always believed that the law isn't just a collection of rules, it's a framework for creating a fairer, more equitable society. And as she reflects on the debate's aftermath, she understands that this victory isn't just hers, it's a victory for every American who believes in the integrity of the legal system and the power of truth to cut through the noise of misinformation. As the public conversation continues, Harris steps forward once more to deliver the message that has been at the heart of her career. She takes to the podium, calm yet unwavering, addressing a crowd of supporters and skeptics alike, knowing the weight of the moment. Tonight, we saw a clash of ideas, she begins, her voice steady but carrying the weight of conviction. But more importantly, we saw a clash of values. It wasn't just about the Constitution, about legal precedents or interpretations, it was about something much more profound. It was about the fundamental belief that truth, when pursued honestly, will always stand tall in the face of arrogance, distortion, and misinformation. Her words are measured, but they strike at the heart of what's at stake. She's not here to boast of victory or to rub anyone's face in defeat, this is a moment for reflection. Harris speaks not just to her supporters, but to the entire nation, reminding them of the importance of intellectual honesty and the courage it takes to stand firm for what is right, even when the tide of public opinion or powerful voices may seek to drown out the truth. We live in a time when it's easier to manipulate facts, to create false narratives, and to ignore inconvenient truths. We see it every day, from the misinformation spread across social media to the political tactics that exploit division and fear. Harris continues, her tone becoming more resolute. But the law, our legal system, isn't about the loudest voice. It's not about who can shout the longest or who can create the most outrage. It's about justice. It's about the pursuit of truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. The crowd is rapt, hanging on her every word. Harris has always been clear in her vision, a more just America, where the law serves all people equally, without bias or fear. She looks out at her audience, knowing that what she says now will resonate with those who are beginning to question not just Carlson's arguments, but the broader political and media environment that has allowed such rhetoric to thrive. And this is why, she continues, I believe in the power of the law. The law has always been a tool of progress, a way for us to right wrongs, to level the playing field, and to ensure that the most vulnerable among us are not left behind. The law isn't a shield for the powerful, it's a sword for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the voiceless. There is a quiet determination in her voice now, the fire of conviction that has defined her career as a lawyer, a prosecutor, and a public servant. The Constitution, as we know it, was never meant to be static. It was meant to be a reflection of our ongoing journey toward a more perfect union. And every time we fight for justice, whether it's in the courtroom, in the Senate, or in our communities, we are making that Constitution more real, more just, and more in line with the ideals of liberty and equality. Harris pauses, letting the gravity of her message settle in. She knows that this isn't just about one debate, it's about the ongoing struggle to make the law work for all people, to fight back against the forces that seek to pervert truth and justice. This debate, this moment, isn't just a personal victory. It's a victory for all of us who believe that the law should reflect the people's needs, their hopes, and their struggles. It's a victory for those who have fought for civil rights, for voting rights, for reproductive rights, and for every cause that demands equality under the law. Her eyes scan the crowd, meeting their gazes. It's a victory for the idea that the law must always move forward, that it must always seek to correct the wrongs of the past and build a future where every person, regardless of their background or their circumstances, is treated with fairness and dignity. Harris's voice rises with passion as she concludes her message. This is the kind of truth we need. This is the kind of leadership we need, one that values intellectual integrity, that respects the principles of justice, and that, above all, believes in the power of the people to shape the future of this country. I will continue to fight for that vision. And I hope, together, we can continue to move this country forward, in truth, in justice, and in equality for all. The room erupts into applause, not just for Harris, but for the vision of a future where truth and justice stand as pillars, unshakable in the face of adversity. The applause echoes, but it's not just about the moment, it's about the movement that has begun. Harris's words resonate across the nation. They become a rallying cry for those who want more than just talk, they want change. They want a legal system that serves the people, not the powerful. They want a future where the pursuit of truth isn't a battle, but a guarantee. In this moment, Kamala Harris has done more than win a debate. She's reignited a movement, a cause that transcends political lines, one that calls for the pursuit of truth, the defense of justice, and the unwavering belief that intellectual honesty will always triumph over the forces of ignorance and arrogance. And as the crowd stands in reverence, it's clear, the truth has spoken. And Kamala Harris has led the charge. The debate between Kamala Harris and Tucker Carlson wasn't just a clash of ideas, it was a moment that defined what America stands for. A victory not just for Harris, but for truth, justice, and the belief that intellectual honesty will always triumph in the face of misinformation. What we witnessed was more than just a legal argument, it was a call for a nation to re-examine its values, its ideals, and its commitment to the very principles that define the Constitution. But this moment doesn't end here. The conversation is just beginning, and it's up to all of us to carry it forward. The victory in this debate is a victory for every person who believes that justice is not a privilege, it's a right. It's for every voice that's been silenced, every fight for equality that's been ignored, and every truth that's been twisted. If you believe in the power of truth, if you believe in standing up for what's right, then this movement needs you. It's not just about one debate, it's about continuing the fight for a better future, for a fairer, more just society. So, share this video. Let the world know that this victory matters. Share it with your friends, with your family, with anyone who believes in the power of truth and justice. Subscribe to stay informed, to stay connected, and to be a part of this larger movement. Together, we can continue to fight for a future where justice prevails, where the law works for the people, and where the pursuit of truth is never silenced. The journey doesn't stop here. Will you join us? Share this video, subscribe, and let's keep the conversation alive. Truth and justice are on the move, and we need you to be a part of it.